Here's a little secret about philosophy. It's not just about dusty old books or professors stroking their beards in candlelit rooms. It's about questions that make you feel dizzy, your stomach turn, and your mind race. They're like playgrounds for the mind. Short stories or situations that make us question what we think we know about reality, morality, and who we are. Speaking of which, I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 thought experiments that challenge reality. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click the notification bell. It really, get that, helps our channel. Thank you guys so much. With that being said, let's get into it. 25. Are we living in a program? Nick Bostrom popularized the idea that if advanced civilizations ever developed the ability to simulate entire universes, they probably would. And if they would, then the odds are that we're already inside one. After all, there would be way more simulated realities than real ones. It's unsettling to think that your morning coffee, your dog, and your job might just be code running on some alien teenager's gaming rig. But this isn't simply a sci-fi idea. It makes us think deeply about whether real and fake even mean anything if our experiences are the same. It still hurts if you stub your toe in a simulation, right? Should we live differently knowing this could be true? Or does it matter at all? Whether simulated or not, you still have to pay rent. 24. The illusion of sensory input. Hilary Putnam's brain in a vat thought experiment takes Descartes' skepticism and adds a cyberpunk twist. Imagine your brain is removed from your body, floating in a vat of nutrients, while electrodes feed you perfectly realistic sensations. You'd have no way of knowing you weren't walking around in the real world. The scary part is, how do you know this isn't already the case? Neuroscience makes this even creepier, since we've learned to stimulate parts of the brain to produce experiences of color, sound, and even out-of-body feelings. If a lab can trick your brain on a small scale, why not imagine the whole thing is one massive trick? How much can we actually trust our senses? Or should we just roll with it? Because whether we're in vats or not, it's still our reality. 23. The ultimate deceiver. Descartes imagined an evil demon whose sole purpose was to mislead him long before computers existed. This demon had the power to change how he saw things, so even the most basic truths like 2 + 2 = 4 might be wrong. The demon is basically the ancestor of the simulation hypothesis and brain in a vat scenarios. The point wasn't to say demons are real, but to show how radical doubt can strip away everything we think we know. What else is there if we can't even trust mathematics and logic? I think, therefore I am, is a classic answer. Even if a demon lies to you about everything else, the fact that you doubt shows that you're a thinking being. It's a scary but effective reminder that what we know for sure doesn't come from the outside world, it comes from the incontrovertible fact of our own minds. 22. The limits of physical knowledge. Frank Jackson dreamed up Mary's room to test whether knowing everything about the physical world equals knowing everything, period. Mary is a brilliant scientist who knows every detail about how humans perceive color, but she's lived her entire life in a black and white room. One day she steps outside and sees a red rose. Boom! She learns something new. What red actually looks like. The kicker is, she already had every physical fact. So how is this possible? This brings up the topic of qualia, which are the subjective parts of experience that science might never be able to fully understand. It goes against the idea that the mind is just a physical entity and says that no matter how much brain science improves, there's still something unique about being you. It's a great reminder that life isn't just facts and figures, it's also color, taste, and feeling. 21. What does meaning depend on? Hilary Putnam strikes again with the twin Earth thought experiment. Imagine a planet just like ours, down to the last detail. Except what they call water isn't H2O. It looks, tastes, and behaves like water, but its chemical makeup is completely different. Does the word water mean the same thing whether someone on Earth says it and someone on twin Earth says it? This test asks if meaning originates from what you think or from what it is in the world. It's not just a game with words. It has a lot to do with how we think about language, reference, and even how AI interprets things. If meaning is based on the world, then a machine that just works with symbols might never really understand. 20. Knowledge in chaos. Borges' Library of Babel imagines a library containing every possible book that can be written. In there, you'd find the works of Shakespeare, your grocery list, and a million nonsense variations of both. Sounds cool, right? Except it's almost useless. For every true book, there are billions of false ones. The infinite library forces us to ask, how do we extract meaning from overwhelming noise? This makes sense in today's society, where the internet already feels like a proto-Library of Babel. We scan through countless feeds that are full of bogus news, conspiracy theories, and half-truths, along with useful information. This isn't only about infinity. It's also about how we locate meaning and truth when the signal gets lost in the noise. Maybe our problem today isn't producing new information, but organizing it and finding the things that really matter amid the mess. 19. Shadows and reality. Plato's cave is one of the first and most memorable thought experiments. Picture inmates chained up in a cave, facing a wall, and only being able to see shadows of things behind them. Those shadows are real to them. One prisoner gets out and sees the outside world, but then he realizes that the shadows were simply faint copies of real life. If he goes back to tell the others, they probably won't believe him. Plato used this as a metaphor for philosophy itself, learning to look beyond appearances toward deeper truths. But today, it feels different. We look at screens, skim through feeds, and think that the lives we see online are real. Plato's cave is about testing the limitations of perception, but it's also about bravery. Are you brave enough to turn around, go out, and face reality as it truly is, even if it breaks your old way of seeing things? 18. Random consciousness. Imagine the universe is infinite and filled with randomness. If that's true, then every possible physical configuration will eventually occur, including one where particles randomly assemble into a functioning brain, floating in space, complete with false memories and sensations. That's a Boltzmann brain. The horrifying implication? You might be one right now. If so, your memories, your past, and even the idea that you're watching this video right now could be illusions. This thought experiment shows how some cosmological models can have strange effects, like bringing conscious minds into existence out of nothing. It doesn't mean to scare you, but it does. But it does point out flaws in notions of infinity and entropy. Still, it makes you pause. Are you really the product of a long evolutionary history, or just a cosmic accident blinking in and out of awareness for a fleeting moment? 17. Identity through change. The ship of Theseus is a classic identity puzzle. If you replace each plank of a ship one by one until none of the original material remains, is it still the same ship? Some say yes, it's about continuity. Others say no, the original ship is gone. And then there's the kicker. What if you reassemble the discarded planks into another ship? Now you've got two candidates for the real ship of Theseus. It's not just boats, it's about us. Our bodies replace cells constantly and our minds evolve over time. Are we still the same person we were 10 years ago? 16. Am I still me? Science fiction loves teleporters, but here's the catch. Most versions work by scanning you, disassembling your atoms, and reassembling them somewhere else. If your original body is destroyed in the process, is the you that appears the same person? If the machine breaks down and makes two copies, who's the real you? The teleportation conundrum compels us to examine whether identity pertains to physical continuity, cognitive patterns, or a completely different construct. Some philosophers say that as long as your memories and consciousness stay the same, you're still alive. Some people think that being vaporized and duplicated feels like dying, and that a convincing fake person is roaming around in your place. Either way, the next time you watch a Star Trek transporter beam someone up, remember, they might just be philosophical corpses replaced by clever copies. 15. Dividing consciousness. Derek Parfit imagined what would happen if your brain was split in two, and each half transplanted into a new body. Both resulting people would share your memories, quirks, and personality traits. So who's the real you? The answer might be both. Or neither. The split brain scenario challenges the concept that identity is a simple, indivisible entity. Instead, research suggests that what we call you may simply be a network of memories and mental connections that can evolve. Parfit even said that personal identification might not be as significant as we think it is. What matters more is continuity, whether experiences and connections survive, not whether there's a single thread of you. It's a wild thought, but it makes sense of situations where duplication or division is possible. Maybe we're less like solid objects and more like storylines that can split. 14. Identity and memory. According to John Locke, recollection determines who you are. As long as you remember yourself as that person, you are that person. This seems like common sense at first. Memories shape who we are, connecting past and present. But there's more to it. Suppose you forget your childhood. Does that mean you're no longer the person who lived it? Or imagine being hypnotized into thinking you have someone else's memories. Do you become them? Locke's idea gets tangled once you bring in false memories, memory gaps, or mental manipulation. Still, it resonates with our lived experience. When we recall, we anchor ourselves in a timeline. When we forget, parts of us fade. If memory falters, what exactly remains of you? 13. The heap problem. The Sorites paradox is sneaky. Start with a heap of sand. Take away one grain. It's still a heap. Keep removing grains one by one. At what point does it stop being a heap? There's no clear answer. This easy challenge shows a big flaw with how we use categories. What's the exact difference between tall and short, or young and old? Reality doesn't have clear lines, but our words and thoughts make it appear that there are. The paradox shows that vagueness is built into many of the categories we live by. It applies to everything from law to biology. When does night officially become morning? 12. Duplicate selves. Imagine a machine that copies you exactly, even your neurons and memories. Now, there are two of you, and you both think you're the real deal. Who's right? Both? Neither? This fission scenario is a close cousin of the teleportation paradox, but it emphasizes the chaos that happens when identity splits instead of transfers. If continuity of consciousness defines identity, then both versions should count as you. But that doesn't make sense. You can't be two individuals at once. Some philosophers say it's wrong to think of identity as a binary. It's possible that identity can breach, with each duplicate being a valid continuation. You might be more like a pattern that can, at least in theory, divide without losing legitimacy. 11. Ethics on rails. The classic setup is simple. A runaway trolley is about to hit 5 people. You can pull a lever to divert it, but then it'll kill just one. Do you pull the lever? Many people say yes, because saving 5 outweighs saving 1. That's utilitarian logic. But it feels unsettling, especially when you start tweaking the details. What if that person's your friend? What if doing nothing feels less like killing than pressing the lever? The trolley problem shows how two moral systems can be at odds with each other. Consequentialism, what happens is most important, and deontology, certain things are just bad. It also shows how our moral instincts change based on how we feel. We want a clean answer, but there isn't one. Instead, it's a mirror reflecting the messy way we navigate moral trade-offs. 10. Sacrifice up close. This variation makes the trolley problem even more uncomfortable. You're on a bridge with a very large man. A trolley is about to kill 5 people below, but if you push him onto the track, his body will stop it. Do you push him? Many people who said yes to the lever version suddenly balked. Why? Because now it's not about flipping a switch. It's about physically sacrificing someone with your own hands. This demonstrates how morality is more than simply cold reasoning. A lot depends on how we feel and how our brains work. Philosophers use the fat man example to demonstrate how utilitarianism, saving the most lives, and deontology, not treating humans as instruments, contradict each other. Would we behave differently if the moral weight was genuine and personal? 9. Fake happiness versus real life. Robert Nozick asked, would you plug into a machine that could give you any experience you want, indistinguishable from real life? Perfect happiness, endless love, success, adventure, it's all on the menu. Once you're inside, you won't know it's fake. The catch is, most people hesitate. Why? We want more than just pleasure. We want honesty. Taking risks, fighting, and even losing is exciting. Nozick observed that people worry about more than just their feelings. The experience machine is still relevant today due to virtual reality, AI-generated worlds, and the allure of digital escape. It requires us to choose between pleasure and truth. Would you rather have been offered happiness or confronted the facts of life? 8. When one enjoys too much. Here's an unusual one. Envision a creature who derives significantly more enjoyment from things than everybody else. Give it a cookie, and it'll be 100 times happier than you. By utilitarian logic, we should give all resources to the monster, since that maximizes happiness. But that doesn't seem right. Nozick coined the term utility monster to illustrate the flaws of pure utilitarian thought. It asks if justice, equality, and dignity are all equally vital, and shows how trying to make everyone as happy as possible can lead to unfair or irrational outcomes. If we only think about the math of pleasure, we might build systems that hurt most people just to make one individual happy. 7. Cooperation and self-interest. Two convicts are put in separate cells and questioned. They can either betray the other or stay quiet. They will earn light sentences if they both stay quiet. If one betrays while the other stays silent, the betrayer goes free while the silent one suffers. If they both betray each other, they both incur terrible punishments. Rational self-interest suggests that betrayal is the prudent choice, yet cooperation yields the optimal group result. This is the prisoner's dilemma, which is a very important part of game theory. It highlights how important trust and communication are, because rationality alone might lead to worse results. The problem happens all the time in real life, such as in politics, climate change, and corporate competition. Trust is sometimes the best course of action, even when treachery appears enticing. 6. Who gets saved? A lifeboat is sinking because too many people are on board. Supplies are scarce, and if everyone stays, all will die. Who gets thrown overboard? The old? The weak? What about the unlucky? The lifeboat problem makes moral reasoning very unpleasant. It demonstrates how utilitarian logic, saving the most lives, can conflict with human ideals such as fairness, equality, and compassion. In the real world, echoes can be seen in medical triage, disaster relief, and the distribution of resources. Someone has to decide who gets help and who doesn't in an emergency. The problem doesn't offer a neat answer. It's designed to make you squirm. It demonstrates how ethics become raw and dirty when survival is at risk. 5. The price of Utopia. Omelas is a perfect city, happy, rich, and full of beauty. The problem is, it all rests on the pain of one child who is shut up in agony. The people know the truth. This harshness is what makes their utopia possible. Some people agree. Others leave because they don't want to live with that deal. Omelas makes us think about whether we would be happy if it was based on unfairness. It's not simply a dream. It shows how systems in the actual world often depend on exploitation for success. From sweatshops to environmental catastrophe, how much pain are we willing to put up with for our own comfort? Le Guin doesn't answer the puzzle. She just shows us the cost of our choices and leaves us to wrestle with it. 4. Can motion exist? Zeno of Elea loved to stir trouble with logic. His most famous paradox is Achilles and the tortoise. Achilles, the quickest runner, races a tortoise, but lets it go first. Achilles has to get to the tortoise's starting place first in order to catch it, but by that time the tortoise had gone on. Achilles closes the gap again, but the tortoise has moved a little more. If you keep doing this, it looks like Achilles will never be able to pass the tortoise. In actual life, he did, but the paradox shows how odd infinite and division are. Is space infinitely divisible? Or is there some smallest unit beyond which we can't cut? Physics still wrestles with this, especially in quantum mechanics, where the Planck length might be a minimum distance. 3. A logical trap. Imagine this. A judge tells a prisoner he will be executed on a weekday next week, but it must be a surprise. Well, the prisoner reasons it can't happen Friday because if he's alive Thursday night, Friday wouldn't be a surprise. By the same logic, Thursday's out, then Wednesday, Tuesday, etc. He concludes it can't happen at all. But then he's executed Wednesday, and it is a surprise after all. The unexpected hanging paradox shows how reasoning can fail when it loops back on itself. It's about self-reference, how hard it is to make predictions, and how knowing what will happen in the future affects surprise. It's been associated by mathematicians and philosophers with Gödel's incompetentness and the paradoxes of self-reference in logic. It's disconcerting because the prisoner's logic seems solid, yet it doesn't hold up in real life. The trap isn't always in the logic itself. It's in how we use it. 2. Trusting the predictor. This is a cognitive game about decision and prediction. You're presented with 2 boxes. One clear containing $1,000 and one opaque containing either $1 million or nothing. A predictor, who's almost always right, has already guessed what you'll do. If they predicted you'd take both boxes, the opaque one is empty. If they predicted you'd take only the opaque one, it's full. Do you grab both or just one? Rationally, taking both guarantees an extra $1,000, but if you trust the predictor, the smart move is to take only the opaque box. Philosophers are divided into 2 boxers or 1 boxers, who argue about free choice, determinism, and rationality. In a time of predictive algorithms, Newcomb's paradox is even more important. Would you fight against an AI that could predict your choice, or would you believe the math and go along with it? In any case, it makes you question what makes sense. 1. Alive and dead at once. The thought experiment, Schrödinger's cat, is the most famous. Imagine a cat in a box with a vial of poison attached to a radioactive atom. The poison comes out when the atom breaks down and the cat dies. If not, the cat stays alive. Quantum physics says that an atom is both decaying and not decaying until it's looked at, which means the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. Ridiculous? That's exactly why Schrödinger recommended it, to demonstrate how ludicrous quantum theory sounds when applied to everyday life. However, the contradiction persisted because it revealed how weird quantum superposition is. What does it mean for something to exist just when we see it? And that's all for today. But before you go, I'm feeling a little generous. How about some bonus trivia? Did you know Plato himself may have been inspired by actual Athenian prison systems where captives could only see shadows cast by torchlight? Well, want even more? Well, here are some facts that are so weird they shouldn't be real, but surprisingly they are. Check out this video for that right now. And again, like I said, like, share, comment, subscribe, notification bell, and I'll catch you all real soon. Which one was your favorite, and do you have any that I didn't mention? Let's test each other down below, see how we do in the cognitive area. And maybe morality, kind of tests all that. All right, see ya.